Access Channel 9 from the City Hall Council Chambers. It's time once again for the Taxpayers Hotline Show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host.
This is City Councilman Kaz Kwiatkowski, and we're going to go right to the phones. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Kaz.
Yeah.
I notice, when I ride the trolley and where they turn down to go around the library there, and they go out that road on the state to go down to Dahlman's Landing.
Yeah.
And I noticed on the left-hand side as we're going out to State Street through that little road there by the library, I noticed they cut part of the grass, but they don't cut it all. Even over where the smokestack is, on in front of the library, they only cut part of the grass. They don't cut the rest of it.
Who doesn't cut it? You mean the county?
On the stack or nothing.
Who doesn't cut the county, you mean?
I don't know. Is it the county?
No, I think it's privately owned. I'm trying to remember how far their property, they probably, let's see, some of it is owned by the Port Authority.
Yeah.
I think that's where the intermodal is. I believe that's owned.
Not where the intermodal is, not there.
Yeah, and then the other side, that's, there's a school back there, and then there's the library, which would be under the county, but I think over by the smokestack, I believe that belongs to a private individual. Now, I'll have to check for you, but
Yeah, they only cut part of the grass. Even on the other side there, they don't even cut.
Yeah, I think for some reason, I think from State Street over to about the smokestack, I think that's owned by, it might be owned by Mr. Scott, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, because they're supposed to build all them apartments here, ain't they?
Well, that's part of his project, I think. He owns actually, I think, a couple pieces. He owns one there and one on the backside down by the cruise boat terminal. So I'll have to check for you, but check on the grass near the smokestack.
Yeah, that there, and when you go west from the smokestack, that other side of that lot,
yeah,
we cut part of it, not the rest of it.
West of the smokestack, you mean going towards State Street?
Going towards State Street, yes.
That's probably all the same lot, I think, but we'll find out.
Yeah, boy, I know. They only do a little bit, and on both sides, and that's it.
Well, hopefully, if things work out, we won't have to worry about the grass there.
Yeah.
We'll have a nice project there, but who knows, right?
Yeah. And another thing, they are going to put the handicaps on 11th and French.
They are?
All four corners they are.
They said that to you, or what?
Oh, they got it all marked down.
Oh, that'd be good. Now, let's see.
There was a guy spray painting around there, and I says, when are they going to start putting them in? He said maybe later this week or early part of next week they're going to do it.
Well, that's right by where you are, right?
Right.
Not only that, it'll be good because the parking ramp's there.
Yeah.
And then you got, let's see.
They're all, I think they all need replaced anyhow.
Yeah. You're talking about they're going to put new ramps in.
Yeah, they're going to put new handicap ramps.
Yeah, because you were complaining about that. Hey, that one, you called me about the one on 38th Street, right?
38th Street? No, I don't think so.
You didn't call me about the one on Liberty?
Oh, yeah, on Liberty, yes.
Yeah, I went up there and I took some pictures and I talked to the engineer. Yeah. And they convinced, I believe when they do the next coat, they're going to bring that over a little bit and take care of that.
Yeah, but see, what I'm saying is...
Yeah, I know, you got that little piece.
Bus stop?
I think they're going to go, I think...
they're only going to do just half of it.
Now, well, when I checked it, it doesn't look it, but I kind of kicked away the dirt a little bit. There's some blacktop right near the entrance.
Yeah, on the where I go and park.
On the south side, there's a little bit of blacktop.
Yeah, very little, not much at all.
But I think that's
no, it's dirt.
Well, I think long range, we're going to have to talk to, when I talk to the engineer, and I'm going to give him another call tomorrow, he called me, he was on a job.
Yeah.
And we'll see. Well, it's probably going to be responsibility of Tops. But I think because of the concerns they had over the bus stop and the safety of the public,
Right.
they're going to put a little bit of extra blacktop off the project on the front of that. So you're going to get a little victory. It's not going to be a full victory,
Yeah, I know.
but you'll be able to access the buses, I think.
The bus stop.
Yeah, you should be able to, what they're going to put there, I think you'll be able to get to the bus stop.
Right.
I mean, you'll be able to come out from the shelter onto the buses a little easier.
Right.
It's not what you wanted, the whole thing, but I think it's going to be, where I looked at it and I watched the markings, I think they're going to take care of the entire width of the bus stop at least.
So, Artie, because it looked like the way they painted it, they're only going to go halfway.
Well, that's why I'm going to talk to the engineer tomorrow. We're going to make sure, his understanding was that they were going to do the entire width of the what do you call it, the bus stop?
That'd be nice.
Yeah, there is a little piece on the, I'm trying to think now, that'd be on the south end of the shelter, there's a very small piece that comes out of the opening. It's covered up with a little bit of dirt and everything.
Yeah.
But then the rest is all, like you say, loose gravel and dirt.
Right.
So my understanding is they're going to take care of that. I'll talk to him tomorrow about it.
Yeah.
And make sure that we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah. And when you see Jessica Rancuso, you can tell her thanks a lot tell Mr. Musey said thank her very much, because I mentioned it to her about them handicaps on French Street. Mm-hmm. And they're going to do all four corners, of what I understand.
You mean on 11th Street?
Yeah, on 11th.
Right. Okay, I can tell her that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hey, and another thing, I mentioned it to the mayor's secretary. Over at the city hall, that cement before you get to the roof, where it looks dirty. Well, on the South Park way there, where they were cleaning windows, where the mayor's office windows are.
Yeah.
They were cleaning the windows. So I called her up after I got home, and they did spray some of the brick going to the roof, where they cleaned some of it. But all that needs clean, even in the lower part where Rose's office is.
Yeah.
That white cement that goes to just before you get to the roof, that in the front there.
Yeah.
On the building.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really dirty. That would be nice if they got some acid or some strong soap and really clean it more and make it look white.
Yeah, they probably have to put that out to contract. I'll take a look at that and see, bring it to the attention of Public Works can look at that.
Yeah, okay.
You're talking about the overhang, like?
The overhang, yes.
And it looks, yeah, it probably does need to be clean, but that's, as I look at them now, I can see them.
Dirty, that's why I mentioned it. They did spray it on the other side.
Yeah.
On the roof there, the overhang, where they cleaned it a little bit with the pressure washer. Mm-hmm. But I think they need some kind of chemical or some kind of acid soap.
Yeah, it probably needs to be like blasted.
You know what I mean? All the way around the city hall.
Yeah, that's a project that we'll have to see if we get funds for. As I look at it from here, I can see it a little bit right out the window.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the overhang before you get to the roof, yes.
Yeah, that like I say, I don't know how much money we got to do it, but I can put your concerns in there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Cass.
Okay.
All right.
And hopefully, give me a call in a couple of days. I'm going to talk to the engineer tomorrow, and we'll see about 38th and Liberty. See what I know they're going to do something there for you. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
All right.
And let's see. I was going to talk about that, but that's done, and that's good. And I noticed on TV there was a lot of talk, once again, about the 12th and Bayfront building, the factory, and I sensed the frustration with the public. Myself, I've turned it in a million times, and we get the same answer that they're working with the gentleman. But after a while, I kind of agree with the public. You get to the point where something's got to be done because it definitely doesn't enhance the city's image in any way when you're coming over that Bayfront Parkway. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Kaz, how are you today?
Pretty good. Go ahead, I can hear you.
Good. I watch your show every week. Hey, I want to report a street light being out.
Okay.
There's no tag on the pole. I looked the other day, it's gone.
It could be. Where is it?
2640 Warfel Avenue. I live across the street, and it's dark as hell up here.
There's only one pole right near there, right?
Yeah, there's just one pole in front. Yeah.
Okay, 2640, is it in front of the 2640?
Yes, 2640 Warfel Avenue, right in front, right next to the mailbox.
Okay, I'll turn it into, the engineering has they have a map, I do believe, with all the poles on there. I'll see if they can coordinate with the address. If they can't, I'll go up there and I'll count how many poles it is from the end of the street.
Well, I walked down, there's one like 2 houses down going east, and then going west, it's like 3 houses down, and then I tried to get a tag number, and the 2 weren't even close, so.
Yeah, sometimes they get pulled off or they fall off.
It's right in front of the house there, 2640 Warfel Avenue.
Yeah, I think they did an audit about a year and a half ago, and they had a couple of young men going around. I think they've fixed a lot of them. They're not all perfect, but I noticed they're a little bit better than they were before. But yeah, I'll turn this one in and see what they. I'll turn it into engineering and see what happens.
It's been flickering for on and off for about 2 weeks now, but now it just goes out, and it's dark up here.
It could be that what do you call it on top, the sensor.
The sensor, yeah.
Yeah, it could be the light, but probably more likely it could be. It sounds like the sensor.
Which it probably is. I got one more question for you too.
Go ahead.
Penelec, they hire a private contractor out to go down and hack all the limbs around.
Yeah, they do, and I forget who. They had a name one time. I could probably get it from Sarah or somebody, but yeah, they hired this firm to come in, and it was explained to me. You don't like the way they do it, right?
No, I like the way they do it.
Oh, you do?
If you go down, you come up down and head east towards on Glendale Avenue, they got some big maples up there, and the trunks are, 8-10 inches in diameter down the whole street there. And if they fall, there's a main power line that runs through there. If they fall, there's going to be a lot of people without power. They didn't do any hacking up there.
They didn't?
You didn't.
No, they pretty much have to get no. I can turn into. What they generally do is if it's a hazard. At least the way I was told was if there's a hazard, they'll cut them. I mean, hazard to their wires, you know.
Well,
But then Sarah will come in if they're rotted, like, you know.
Well, if you, and your leisure, go up there and take a ride. There's a big one up there. It's got to be 6 foot in diameter, and it's split. The ground shook last week. My buddy lives over there. If you drive over there, just go up down and head east. You'll see it. You can't miss it.
Okay, the trees are on what street?
On Glendale Avenue.
Okay, so go up Downing, right?
Yep, hang a right, or hang a left, I'm sorry, hang a left.
Or left on Glendale?
Left on Downing Avenue.
Okay.
And you'll see where one fell last week, and it's huge. It's got to be 6 foot in diameter. It's on private property, but I'm looking at all the other trees going down the line, and there's some big ones up there, Kaz.
And they're on Glendale, right?
Yes.
The ones you'd like removed are on Glendale?
Yes. I think they should be removed. I don't live up there, and there's a main power line that goes through there, transformers and everything, and if you go and look and some of them fall, especially if we get a nice storm or a heavy snow before all these leaves fall off these trees, Penelec's going to have a mess up there.
Yeah, I went to a class with Penlec, and they explained to us that they were telling us how there are certain wires that are main wires, feeder wires, and all that. And when they do cut them, they tend to do it for reasons that they anticipate problems. I'm surprised if that is a problem. I'm surprised they haven't been up there yet.
Probably no one's ever brought it to their attention. That's a main one up there.
Yeah, they pretty much do it on their own too, though. I mean, I think they when they did certain trees, people got upset because they cut them a little more than people thought they should have.
No, I have no problem with that. I'd rather have them hack them all up than lose power if you have an ice storm.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised they do their own audits, but I can turn that into them.
That's a main feed down through there. That's a big one. That goes all the way to McClellan Avenue, and who knows, I think that feeds all the businesses up on McClellan Avenue. But it's something that somebody might want to look at, because there's some big logs up there.
Yeah, I can turn it into the engineering office, and they can pass it on to Penlec and let, Penlec go make the call along with, they work in close conjunction with our arborist.
Sure. Well, half of these trees up here are dead, too. I said that one fell last Wednesday. Drive up there and look at it. Oh, geez, thank God nobody's car or nothing was parked there.
Yeah, I got a call from a lady. I'm going to try and take care of her problem. She has a tree that is starting to, the wind's taking it down, and it's going to fall on the sidewalk or the street, the limbs. Right. And then some people brought up about the ones on East 38th Street over there, like from the Vets Hospital to Mercyhurst.
Okay, gotcha.
And I checked on that, and they know they're bad. We have them on what they call the cut list. But I'm not making excuses, but there's no money to cut them a lot of times. The budget's been cut pretty tight, so they do have emergency funds if something rises to the occasion. They have some emergency discretionary funds. But there is a list that they make, and they get limited funding every year, and they've been systematically taking trees down, but they're probably nowhere near the money we need to take, the amount that does have to come down.
Okay, I guess I can understand that, but...
Yeah, because nobody wants it, there's a balance there, but, if we could we'd have to raise more funds or take money out of other programs. So they're trying to do the best they can, but you're right, there's a lot of old trees in Erie, a lot of, they were planted many years ago, and I remember when I was on the school board, we had to take some down because they were hazardous to the students.
Okay.
And, up around Bakerfield and Perry School area, there was a lot of old trees.
Well, hopefully somebody can come up and look at this, because I think this issue should be addressed, because they said that's a main power line that goes through there. It feeds a lot of businesses and homes, and what's it cost if it rips all the power lines out of the place? And then, Penelec, you got an ice storm or some windstorm or whatever happens, and then what's that cost to have crews out there and pay them all the overtime to replace these lines? They've spent a little money to hack all the trees away. They're big, Kaz. I got a number I can call too. Besides turning it in, I can talk to them and tell them your concerns. Yeah, have somebody come up and look at it. At least they can tell me if they consider it a problem or not. Okay, I see it being a problem, especially when they're half dead. But yeah, well, I'm sure they do hire an outfit. I thought it was out of Ohio, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I never had a complain about how they hack them up. You got to hack them out. If you have an ice storm and you've got power out for 3 or 4 days. Well, some people argued that they were healthy trees, and then when they hacked them, they kind of killed them. Oh, I think this is a little different. They came up my street. I was surprised. Mine is not the most heavily traveled. Right. But that tells me they're kind of like going all around the city. They came up my street, and I remember one afternoon, this was last year, and they did every tree they thought was a hazard. And they just cut it, and they had the chipper right there, and it didn't take them much longer than about an hour and a half. Right. Just to go up that street. So they must be systematically, going through the city. Well, they haven't been up here for a while. Like I said, at your leisure, drive up down in and just like 2 blocks past Fairmont Parkway, make a right, and you'll see a big one that fell last Wednesday with that windstorm we had. Luckily, it didn't hit nothing, and only half of it fell. It split in half, and the trunk on that thing's got to be 5-6 foot in diameter, and half of it fell. Didn't hit anything.
Usually, if I go grocery shopping, I'll go out that way and check it out.
I'll hang up so someone else can call.
Okay, and if you have anything more, feel free to call back.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
And we'll turn that into, I will have to call Penlick on that and see if they have any ideas about doing any tree cutting in that area. I do know they go through the whole city systematically. I've seen them. Some people are happy with them and some people aren't. That's the nature of the beast. Getting back to 12th and Bayfront, I think it's time we... Go ahead, caller.
First of all, I'd give my condolences to the Cleveland Browns and wish that Lou Groza was back.
Yeah, but Lou, well, you know what? That wasn't the kicker's fault.
It wasn't?
No.
3 times?
What do you mean 3 times?
He had 3 field goal attempts.
He had 2, didn't he?
3 of them.
2, wasn't it?
3.
Name it. The 50-yarder.
Yeah.
The blocked one.
Yeah, and the one that hit the post, the upright.
That was the 50-yarder.
Well, there was another one, too.
I think there's only 2 he did.
Yeah, besides the point.
Yeah, but here's the thing, John. 50-yarder, that's, I watched it on there. That was not, remember, I was a kicker, okay? So I'm always going to blame somebody.
Yeah. You didn't have a black armband.
Who, me?
The plays.
Oh, actually, the first one was a bad snap, okay? That throws off your timing, but the second one, I was talking with a gentleman that likes football like I do, and we were amazed that when they overloaded to one side, nobody reacted to that. You know, they gave that guy a clear shot at blocking it.
That's true. You know, a lot of people don't know the art of blocking kicks. You don't go where he's kicking, you go where you think the ball is going to be. And
he did. He took the nice angle. I mean, but if you watch it, they had 3 guys loaded on one side.
Yeah, well, it's over the dam. I was really hoping they would win.
Hey, I'm proud of what they're doing, but I agree with the coach. You know, these moral victories, they're still losses. You know.
Right.
So you have to find a way to. It seems like the field goal decided every game for them.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of field goals decided a lot of games yesterday. But let's get down to brass tacks. First of all, you're talking about tree trimming. That's Lewis Tree Trimming Company. I think they're out of New York.
Oh, I couldn't remember it. I know they're out of state, but I thought that was Ohio.
Lewis. Well,
yeah.
the corporation headquarters in Ohio. But I'd like to do a little bit of chatting with the city council meeting this past week.
It was interesting, to say the least.
It was very interesting, especially when Randy Barn came up and discussed the tit for tat, why he thought that they retained Jim Clem. And Jim's a great guy, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But he had 48 years, and I'm sure his office was there, and his fill-in, she must have a little bit of idea what's going on. But the part that bothers me was the city councilman, after Randy's time ran out, he addressed him. I thought there was no addressing complaints by citizens.
Well, that was my understanding, because if you notice me, I will not...
No dialogue whatsoever.
No, and I learned that from the school board that...
keep your mouth shut, and you want to talk, you go afterwards.
Well, here's the thing, and John, you know this to be a fact, that the last word is going to be the councilman or the school director, and that's not fair to the public either. So, the whole purpose of citizens to be heard is that's their chance to lodge a complaint.
Right, and he should have just shut up, and you could see all of his frustration.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, watching it just shows me that Randy was 100% right, and Wynorski was guilty of trying to pay back for a job that Jim hung around because he was council president for another year when he said he wanted to go.
Well, first of all, debating the public, I don't agree with that, and they shouldn't get personal either. But if they do, You know, you just sit there, and as long as they don't get, like I always say about my show here,
Well,
as long as you keep it in...
Personal, he just said Councilman Wisniewski asked Jim Clem when he was going to retire if he'd hang around. And then the first thing it does, he wants to put him up as a archivist.
Right.
What does an archivist do? When you left your office, they ask you to hang around as an archivist to straighten out your office?
No, the answer to that is no, but...
And, you know, just like Freckengross down at Port Authority, he's going to hang around for a couple of years, too.
Well, I think if there was an error made and it wasn't fair to Mr. Clem and it wasn't fair to even the other council members...
That's true.
Like me when I was out of town during that vote, nobody explained to us... what do you call it, the job description or anything.
Right, and nobody knows it.
I haven't seen, to my knowledge, I haven't even...
How many hours does Jim go down there?
I haven't even seen the contract, and I'm saying...
Oh, if he goes down there at all?
Pardon?
Do you know Jim goes down to the office?
He's actually here today, actually. I just saw him, he's working today.
Well, maybe you can go...
But I'm not down there, but it'd be fair to everybody, I'm not down there every morning, okay?
But, you know, the whole thing here is, it sure looked like it was payback. And Mr. Wisniewski, the way he reacted...
Well, that's why I think there was a lack of transparency, which now...
Now there's a question.
Makes everybody look bad. It makes Mr. Clem look bad, makes council look bad, the public is in doubt, and I think...
And you know what other was a disgusting thing? He says, well, you live in Harbor Creek.
Yeah, well, you know, if we start picking on who we allow to talk out here...
That's true. Now, the situation there is he owns property in the area.
Well, then he's a taxpayer, and he's entitled to...
Just say.
Right. When I was on the school board, I remember one time there was some young students that wanted to talk. And the comment was that, well, they're kids, they can't talk. They're not...
A lot of kids today and when you were there, have a lot more wisdom and thought.
Well, not only that, but I pointed out that the young man in question had a part-time job. And so I asked the young man if he got a check. And he said, yeah. And I said, on that check, are there deductions? And he said, yes, there are, you know.
Yes, he's a taxpayer.
So I said, you know, either we made a terrible mistake by taking money out of you, you know, we should give it to you back, because apparently that's what you're saying, you know, he's not a taxpayer. And I know that's very minuscule, but you know what? We should not be afraid of allowing people to talk, you know.
It's true. That's what you're there for. You're there to listen.
Now, you know, obviously, you know, you listen more to the taxpayers. You know, those taxpayers could be, you know, large property owners. I mean...
Yes, and these are future taxpayers to be.
Tell me if General Electric, or not General Electric, in the old days, if Hammill came down here, or Smith's Provision, and those gentlemen lived out in the suburbs somewhere, we're going to tell them they can't talk?
It's true.
And they're one of our biggest taxpayers, you know.
Yeah.
I just think, you know, I always learned the best thing to do is, hey, look, there was a guy who took a shot at me at council about 4 months ago, I think it was. He got all over me about something. He didn't think I helped him enough, and the problem is bigger than you know, a councilman helping him on an issue. It's
than one council person.
It's a complicated issue, and I couldn't make him happy. So he took a shot at me here, and you know what? That's it. You know, he's entitled to it.
Well,
I approached him after the meeting, and I told him, I think you're out of line, you know. But, you know, you took your cheap shot and you're proud of it, that's okay, you know.
I was surprised your bookends didn't show up this week.
Oh, yeah,
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Maybe you should come up on here.
Yeah, no, I mean at the meeting.
Oh, which one? Oh,
your bookends.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's been a little strange. Certain ones aren't coming.
That's true, you know, the whole thing there. And, you know, I looked at, they opened the contract for that county cement work down there for the new hotel.
Yeah.
And there's two out of town and one in town. The one in town bid is a little bit higher, but, you know, you'd think that they would hire or contract the locals.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're bound by the lowest bid, and if they're not.
No. Well, you have to look in between. There's a lot of those bids, they submit them, but they have a rider, too.
Yeah, I'm in favor of,
Local contractor.
yeah,
right.
if they're not way out of, usually they're pretty good, because I remember when they opened up bids for like our handicap ramps and different projects we've had in the city, there's been out-of-town firms, and even those out-of-town firms are in Erie County, so it sounds strange, but...
I noticed on the agenda last week that Valhalla got a lot of ADA ramps to the tune of $288,000.
He did a pretty good job, though, on the ones he did on 38th Street.
Did a fantastic job. He was in and out quickly.
I was going to bring that up later. I have a note here. If there's one thing that bugs me is, and I've been noticing it. I go out of town a lot, so I see how other towns do it. Just seems like there's a lack of coordination in Erie.
There is.
I listened to Bobby Mirsky, and he explained what he was told. Councilman Mirsky explained that, they were caught off guard with all these ramps and everything. But you know what? We've known about this.
Been in the deal for about the last 10 years.
So, I hope we learn from the mistake that next year we don't have streets laying open for, months during the height of summer.
Talking about streets, I'd like to thank the street department. They did Conrad over here, and they had some extra blacktop, and they did a little section up by my house.
Well, they do a nice job, our guys. I'm not complaining.
It helped out a bit, too. Every little bit helps.
And I'm not complaining about the private contractors, but somebody here at the city has to be cognizant that...
More coordination.
Yeah, we need to be a little more demanding. John, you and I joke about football and stuff. You think they'd put up with this crap if they had that near one of the big stadiums in a large city?
No way.
Like if Heinz Field was having a football game, you think they'd have the street tore up for 3 months?
They're as fast as possible.
No, they wouldn't put up with that. And I've watched other towns, At least now like in the old days, I used to go to towns where they put the steel plate over the holes.
Yes.
They kept the street going, or if a major event came up,
yeah, well,
they would reopen the street, while the major event was going on.
Some of those steel blocks is still sit about a half-inch, 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah, but at least there was a warning, and at least the street wasn't shut down for perpetuity, But like you ride around here, and they're going, it was amazing that all these curb cuts, they should have been. Put under the gun a little bit, You
wonder where the engineering department and the state and the contractors, they should have a meeting prior to doing this and set everything straight.
Oh, it's like the state, a lot of their roads aren't even striped yet.
No.
When are they going to put them up, when the snow falls?
That's a good question.
The turning arrows are obliterated, and...
That's true, and I think it's time to bring up that deal about licensing plowers in the city along with the grass cutters.
Well, I think it's fair I'll tell you what, I think it's a fair deal, and it doesn't have to be a big fee.
No.
I think it's more about sitting them down, and you can call it a small administrative fee, and the main function being that you tell them the rules, which are, A, you don't block streets in a certain way.
You don't plow it.
You don't plow your snow out into, other people's property or into the middle of the street,
That's true. And the state is doing this now. The Game Commission, they're having a meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, that's going to be, what do you think about that one?
I think it's a fair deal.
Yeah, but I've always been told, what are they saying, John, that they're going to charge you to go through the game lands?
$1 fee for snowmobilers, and you have to use the snowmobile tracks.
Yeah.
To use the game lands.
They're going to charge you for that, right?
A fee, yes.
Not to walk, though, only for the...
Just for the snowmobilers, and not the walk that I know of. Well, the hunters pay their fee.
Yeah, but that's because what that is, administrative fee to help with supposedly the, what do you call it, taking care of the animals to...
Wildlife, you mean?
Well, yeah, kind of like helping keep rules and regulations and causing the animals to reprocreate and all that,
Well, it's more or less a wildlife deal.
Yeah, but I was talking to a fish guy the other day, a fish warden, and I never looked it up in the state constitution, but he claims the reason why certain things are the way they are is because we're a commonwealth and the land has to be open to the public.
We are a commonwealth, there's no doubt about that, but
And so, I mean, it'll be a wonder whether the administration of a fee to use it, they'll probably have to convolute it somehow, like with hunting, it's a regulation issue.
just like buying a trout tag or whatever for fishing,
Right, and
the lake.
so it'll be interesting what happens with, I don't disagree enough, if they say that the money's gonna go to maintaining the path, let's say.
Snowmobilers kill a lot of wildlife.
So, I mean, maybe that's what the thing is about.
They change their habit of birth and everything else, and
It's probably a regulation too. They don't want them going through the woods except where they want them to go.
yes.
You know, and then they, in return now, they have to keep the paths clean for them too.
I don't know about keeping the paths clean, but if they're going to have snowmobile routes, they will do that.
Yeah, it's,
Paint them.
it'll be interesting, but, yeah, I just, the whole thing confounds me when
That's true.
we just don't have any coordination on a lot of things. It's like,
No, that's the whole thing. Just like the governor's going to have a little debate tonight, and I'm sure all the teachers in town do not want this present governor because he's talking about pension reform.
that's true. But you know what? It was the ex-governor, Tom Ridge,
He started all right.
who didn't put the money into the MMO.
Yep, and he said he wasn't going to do that, and the first thing he did, wham.
So, I mean, you know, the teachers had no choice in that because the school district, they you know, well, you know, they get a bill and that's it, you know.
And just like this bill down there now that they're thinking about getting rid of city school taxes.
Who want, where, and,
Well, it's up before the appropriations committee where they're going to try and tax other things.
well, you know, I've always said that,
Percent state tax and there's...
you know, I don't disagree with that. I think that real estate alone is, it punishes people that take care of their property.
It's true.
And the people that don't take care of their property make out.
And the people that don't have kids in school for 50 years.
Well, then that's why, although now, I will say this, renters do pay taxes.
Yeah, but it's fitted in appropriately.
Well, it's not, yeah, that's why I think we need reform. In other words, if you have a rental, the building needs to be taxed on its income potential, not the value of the building. You follow me, John?
The land tax.
Right, and the effect it has on the municipality, like, you know, if they have kids in there and stuff, the possibility, then, you know, that has to be considered. But I don't see, I like what other states do. In other words, when you get older, your taxes on your property should be reduced, you know, and it, maybe some of the tax shifted to an income tax or a sales tax, okay?
True.
Because, you know, when you're younger, you got the money. Like in Virginia, they freeze the property at
such an amount of money, yes.
right. They keep assessing the property, but as long as the people in the house are not income generators and they have no kids there, or no renters or anybody else in the house, then that property is frozen. It gives them a little break, and then the state gets that off other things, you know.
Time I think of land tax, I think of our departed buddy.
Yeah, Mario, he had a good idea, though.
Oh, Joe Borgia.
What? Oh.
When he didn't help override the mayor's veto.
Yeah, because Mario was pushing it for that hard for years.
Yes, he was. Well, I'll let somebody else go.
Yeah, you know, thanks for calling, John, but you brought up interesting subjects.
Right, and I noticed a lot of the agenda was done in the back caucus room, not out front.
What do you mean?
I didn't see like the alleyway, the contract for Valhalla or whatever.
Well, those are available to council and the public anytime they want, but
A lot of public doesn't have a TV set or
yeah, no, we don't read everything because
computer.
that, you know, that some people want us to read everything, but it's available online. It's available down here at City Council.
About how many people
I understand. I mean, but
go online?
that's what we don't discuss. Like a lot of that stuff is kind of.
Right, yeah.
It's been recommended. It's not a big deal. I should
Like
say
the
not.
alleyway. Did you close the alleyway to access?
Yes, they did.
Who's going to plow it?
That would be, well, usually when they turn an alleyway over, there is,
Well, you got Hagen Builders down there.
who?
Hagen Machine?
I'll check on that alleyway. What, like, the one alleyway that,
between,
Denny's Ice Cream was gonna, remember they wanted?
yeah,
They were gonna take care of their portion of the alleyway.
this was up on 13th and 14th Street.
But sometimes when they close an alleyway, and it may be that the homeowners agree to take over the alley,
Yeah,
so there's no plowing to be done. I mean, it's just like if it snows,
just like the one over there by Levels.
yeah, if it snows, so be it. It's just, it's not a public thoroughfare anymore.
For little Mario. Well, have
Yeah.
a great day.
See you, John. And that takes care of my rant about lack of coordination. It just seems like there's a lot of that, but it's what happens. And one of the, of course, the Tom Kennedy Hotel project passed, and that's great news because that's a private developer, and even though we're going to give him a loan, which he has to pay back, and it's a good thing when private enterprise builds hotels compared to the public building them. I know, in reality, we probably want to build a Sheraton, but hey, you know what? Private business people have to make when they build something, they have to be able to make a profit or be able to pay the expenses. They can't rely on taxes or other things from the government to take care of them. So, the project has to ride on its own merit. The Chris disappointment, and I would say that's a disappointment, seeing firsthand what it did for the city of Allentown and seeing and I've seen the plans, and if it's as good, it's successful as what happened in Allentown, then certainly Bethlehem, along their waterfront there, near the casino, is going to really benefit from a CRIS program. And the disappointment was obvious that I thought we had a pretty good shot, and it's unfortunate that whatever happened the first round, where we didn't get our cards in the right row. I don't know who to blame, but it is a terrible disappointment. I mean, this was a project, I think, that, and I hope Mr. Scott will still go forward without it, but, it could have really transformed that bayfront into something very second to none, I think. That waterfront would have looked great. And it brings me up to a bigger issue that I think if we have a problem in Erie, and I keep hearing about, Erie's a great community, and we turn out when there's fundraisers, and we turn out when there's things to be done. But if there's one area I think we're lacking, and that's coordination amongst every one of us in the county. Sometimes I think we still have these little turf battles that when a project like this comes along that benefits the whole county, and I'm blaming the city too, because we don't always back projects that aren't in the city. I think some projects need to be backed by all governments when it has a direct benefit on the area. I mean, the health of the city is important to the county, and the health of the suburbs is just as important to the health of the city. We can debate till time immemorial about whether, the mall hurt downtown or whether the mall is a benefit to the city or not, but it really doesn't matter. I mean, it's there, it was going to happen. There were things that played out at the time, and I think, we have to take advantage of those things in the city. When we bring tourists here for conventions, we have to kind of, you have to show the entire benefit. We have a casino, we have an amusement park, a very nice one. We have a beachfront, we have a downtown area, we have a waterfront, we have entertainment facilities in the city, the baseball park, the arena, the Bayfront Convention Center. And I think all these are assets, but the more and more when I travel and I look, I just don't see Erie represented really well around the Commonwealth. And I don't know whether, I'm kind of glad that they decided to put a little more money into the chamber and stuff so that they could spread the message. Because when you go out of town and you see Amish country, or you see Pocono Valley, or you see Pittsburgh, you see historic Philadelphia in that area, and they seem to be all working together somewhat. But in Erie, the biggest things I see are Nick Scott and Mr. From Waldemar, Paul, oh, God, I can't remember his last name now. I see them kind of going on their own, and I don't see a lot of our literature about the Erie County out there as much as it should be. Now, they may say, you know, they may be doing it now, but I'm talking about up to even like a year and a half, 2 years ago, it was just not evident. So I think, you know, the disappointment is that all the legislators should be fighting for this important CRIS project, and we need to, you know, start acting as one up here, because we're only 280,000 people, and believe it or not, that's not the largest, or it's one of the largest, but far down the line in what I call metropolitan areas in this Commonwealth. And then the image I see that I keep hearing people calling me up now on this last week. I got 3 or 4 phone calls about property maintenance and nuisance bars, and I think this is another thing that's got to change in the city somewhat. We have to be a little more proactive. We can't be afraid of upsetting people when they're not taking care of their property, or they're causing, by doing that, they're causing discomfort to their neighbors. And that goes the whole gamut of maintenance of their property, their conduct at night, all that stuff. And I think, you know, if we really expect people to move back into the city, and we really expect the city to thrive, then we can't have this. I mean, I'm getting reports of 3, 4 different people about certain bars, and I'm going to take this up with the police department and probably the Liquor Control Board, because I think we don't need any more of these nuisance. Go ahead, caller.
Did you ever check on the signs at 28th and Parade on the building?
You know, I went by there. I did see them, yes.
I think it's a disgrace. You don't need that many advertising signs on a building.
No, it just, it seems like, yeah, we are signed out around the city sometimes. And, you know, it gets to be, I'm not feeling real good about it. A lot, like, you know, when you see graffiti, or you see too many signs, and you see a lot of distractions that take away from the beauty of the city.
When are they going to start paving some of these streets?
That's a good question. You know, they told us at the council meeting that they would be done shortly. You're talking about the second coating, right?
Yeah.
I just think, you know, this year, maybe it's me, but I don't think it is, because I'm hearing it from other people that it just seems like this year they didn't get them topped. In the past, they would tear up the street and mill it, and then, you know, they would mill certain sections of the city. Then they would put the first layer, usually around the whole city, where they were working, that contractor, and then the second coating would come up.
I just come up State Street today, and they don't even have it done.
No, and they're saying that. They told us that part of the problem was the ADA ramps. And I'm going, if that's the problem, if we have to wait till they're built, then,
you know, a year ahead of time?
Why did you, well, not only that, I mean, that's why I said to one previous caller, I said, we have to be more coordinated. And if that was the case, then we should have started on the ramps either a little quicker, or don't tear up the streets as fast.
Right.
You know, could they have been, I don't, you know, I'm not an engineer, and I'm not a contractor, I don't know, but it just seems like this year was a real mess, and...
The left don't know what the right...
No, it seems that way, and I go to other towns, they seem more coordinated. Even when they close down streets, it's like Erie Insurance, and I'm not jumping on them, but they've had one street in Erie closed down almost the whole summer. And then all of a sudden you'll see a private contractor tearing up another part of the street further down the block, or something close where they're disrupting the whole traffic flow, and they're not taking into consideration one-way streets. And They're not giving you enough warning to adjust your route. When you come down the street, one time I remember I came down the street only to find out there was no place. By the time I saw the sign, which was way in, there was no place to turn.
Oh.
I had to actually physically turn around and explain to a police officer why I was doing that, going up a one-way street.
I happen to take the Bayfront Highway by Brendell's, and the state don't even have the lines painted in the road yet.
No, that's what I was shocked. I mean, I can understand the city. We don't have a lot of, what do you call it? We don't have a lot of people on the paint crew, and we do a lot of it during the summer, but I'm looking at some of these like East 38th Street and stuff which is a state highway, and there's no striping on there.
Don't even mention East 38th Street. I get ticked off every time I drive by these houses with 4 or 5 cars in them.
Well, I just found out a shocker. Do you live near there?
Yes, I do. I live near here.
At the foot of my street on Stanley,
I know where you live.
I just found out there's a boarding house there. I never knew that, but it's been grandfathered in. I discovered there's eight different units in there. And I looked, the front is paved, the side is paved, and the back is paved. There was, and I kid you not when I say this, I had my camera going, it was like 10 cars there one day at just one property.
Huh.
Now, if there's 8 houses, they must have multiple vehicles. But yeah, it's getting out of hand, and I'm not even sure when they paved their front lawn, they did it the right way and got permission.
No, it's just getting out of hand.
So I'm checking into that, but you're right, it's starting to look ratty along there, but you know what? Nobody believes me. They think, I've heard people say, well, what do you expect when you move next to a college? Hey, wait a minute. I've been there a long time in that area, and that was a girls' school. And they keep adding more and more kids onto if you read the paper, their enrollment is reaching peak levels every year.
Yep.
But yet they're not building any more dorms as much to handle that problem. So where do you think they're going to go?
What did they do with that empty field down there by Lamb of God there? What they can do with that field?
Isn't that the one near St. Peter and Paul?
Yeah.
They were going to build, we heard what they did, they approached council about building a softball field for their women's program.
Huh?
Because under Title IX, they have to have facilities that are equal to the men. And I think the men use the one on Old French Road. I think they're using that ball field.
Oh, yeah?
But the women, they were going to build a softball field for them. They had the plans and everything. It was, some of the neighbors didn't like where they're going to put it, but it was a permissible use. And those plans died. Then I kind of heard that they were thinking about either some dorms or classrooms or something down there. But nothing's happened.
Why don't they use it for a parking lot or something?
Yeah, they probably could, though.
The parking over there where the old Antonio's used to be.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And I'm not even sure we collect taxes off them because we have a parking fee. But they may be, I think if you give it for free, and they probably lop it in with their, what do you call it, their...
Tuition?
Yeah, so they can get away without paying a fee, but I don't know what's going to happen in that land. I'll try to keep an eye on it. The last thing I know was that softball, and that didn't happen.
Okay, then you're about ready to shut down here, so.
Yeah, I agree with you, though. We got to change the image of East 38th up there, otherwise we're going to be in trouble.
Yep.
We're going to watch. I looked into realty the other day, and there was more people selling their property with Howard Hanna all around that area, plus, the amount of transfers that have already occurred.
I always check out the transfers and Saturday stuff.
But the houses that are up for sale are amazing on that part of town.
Yep. Okay, Kaz, you have a good day.
You too. I have to get together with you sometime.
Okay.
And with that, I've been given a sign that we have to go off the air, so I appreciate your phone calls, and we'll see you again here next Monday.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the Taxpayers Hotline Show on Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9.